favor and grace. These are ingredients that strengthens a man's life, that causes a man to deliver his destiny properly. Genesis chapter 6 from verse 8. But Noah found grace. Understand that God said, I want to destroy every man that I've made. I want to kill every man has offended me. I want to eat. It repented God, created him, and God regretted. But the Bible says, but Noah found grace. So even when God decided to destroy every man, a man was exempted from destruction even by God because of grace. When there is grace in your life, you escape things that catch up with others. When you carry grace, there are certain races you run, you will never find this grace. Where others fail, you can't fail there because of the grace of God. If you hear, shout, I hear.
I hear you, sir.
Genesis 18 and verse 3. Abraham found favor in the sight of 3 men in the plains of Mamre. When these 3 men entered the life of Abraham, that same year they prophesied to Abraham, they prophesied to the wife. They said, by this time next year, and according to the words of the mouth of these 3 men, Isaac was produced from the family that was called barren. If you hear, say I hear.
I hear you, sir.
In Genesis 39, if you read verse 21, the Lord gave Joseph favor in the eyes of the prison controller. And that's why, because of the offense of Joseph offended the man called Potiphar, and because of the influence of the man, Joseph would have been kept in the worst part of the prison. He would have been he would have gone through hard labor. He would have gone through rigorous process in that prison. But while he walked into the prison, Bible said God showed him favor in the sight of the prison warders, in the sight of the prison controllers. And instead of him staying in that one place and abandoned in that secluded prison to rot, he was put in a place where he was comfortable. Why? Because God showed him favor. You see, grace, mercy, and favor is an ingredient that can strengthen a man. If you read Exodus 33 and you read verse 17, Bible says Moses found favor in the sight of God. No wonder a scavenger, a shepherd to a native doctor, was turned to the shepherd of God's people because of favor. When God showed Moses favor, he empowered him. He didn't need to go through Bible school to carry power. A man who stretched forth a rod and the Red Sea parted hither and thither. A man who stretched forth the rod and quails began to fall. He stretched forth the rod, water came out of the rock. He stretched forth the rod, meals began to change in the wilderness. A man God showed favor. Am I talking to somebody here? Talking about Esther chapter 2 and verse 15. The Bible says, and Esther obtained favor from the Lord. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, all odds were against Esther. Esther was a stranger. If you want to consider who should become queen in the Medes and Persia, Esther should not be chosen. One night she was doing dishes in the house of the senior cousin by name Mordecai. She was doing dish in the house of Mordecai. All of a sudden, the Bible told me, ladies and gentlemen, that this Esther obtained favor. From doing dishes, she became queen of the land. From doing dishes, she became queen of the land. How was that possible? Because she obtained favor from the Lord. Favor can destroy protocol. Favor can reduce the protocol they are put on ground, so as to favor you, so have to speak you and raise you. Favor can do that. If you read 1 Samuel 2 and verse 26, a great servant of God by name Samuel, hear what the Bible says. The child Samuel grew on and was in favor with God and with man. The child Samuel grew and was with favor with God and with man. If you look at the exploit of Samuel, this guy was valid in all areas for God. He was a priest for God because he was the one that sacrificed on the altar of God. He was a priest for God. Remember when the mother came to God and said to God, there is an error in the process of serving you in the temple. What was the error? A man called Eli was the priest in charge. Eli had 2 sons. One was Hophni and the other was Phinehas. If you consider their life, the sacrifice people bring to church to serve God, the sons of the priest, they will carry the sacrifice. Even the one that belonged to God, they will consume it. And ladies and gentlemen, even God was angry. People now started coming to the altar of God and not getting solution, because what they are giving to God as a sign that they have come, the man's children will eat them. And the woman called Hannah noticed it, that these people have defied the temple, and he said to God, give me a son and I will turn that son to a priest that will not do what Hophni and Phinehas are doing. And Hannah was given a son that same year, and he brought the son back whose name became Samuel. And hear what the Bible says. When God wanted to separate him from Hophni and Phinehas, because there is a level of favor you will have to still becomes a problem. There's a level of rest God has given to you to still become a problem. For Samuel not to end up like Hophni and Phinehas, what happened? God showed Samuel favor. He grew in favor with men and with God. He grew in favor with men and with God. And that's why Samuel's life was distinctive, different. He was a priest. Samuel was a priest. Samuel was a prophet. His word never fell to the ground. His word never fell to. He was a priest. He was a prophet. And he was also a judge. He was occupying the 3 tiers of government. As prophetic as the guy was, the guy grew up in grace and favor with God and with man. That was why even when he died, solution that living men could not provide, they still went and sought him. Even after the man Samuel died, Saul went to meet a Midian priest and said, please invoke a man for me from the dead. There's something I'm confused about. A solution living men could not provide. A dead man was brought back to life. Imagine, you get confused for family, you go to your papa grave, say, daddy, I'm not tired of this life. Show me, you tell me what I go do. Your father does not use the phone you use. He has no technological knowledge like you have now, but you are still seeking his counsel, even in the grave, because there was something about him. He was ahead of his peers. God showed him favor. God showed him favor. Acts chapter 7 and verse 46. David found favor with God and desired to find a tabernacle for this God. He found favor. You see how David is picked from the bush and taken to the palace? The story may be long, but because of time. Who found favor before God and desired to find a tabernacle for the God of Jacob? Who was he talking about? David. David found favor. He was a man of favor. That's why though they least in the family, those they neglected, those they rejected, he became the celebrated. He found favor. Luke 1 and verse 30. An angel came and met Mary. Fear not, Hail Mary, full of grace. Thou art highly favored. Thou hast found favor with God. Mary found favor. And that's why beyond all those makeups, beyond all those Segomaya catwalk, elephant walk, Nava walk, she was found and preferred. She was picked and she was shown favor. Can I surprise you? Favor is not fair. See the question Mary asked, how will this thing be? A man have asked it before. The man went deaf and dumb. The same angel went to meet Zachariah and said, Pastor, you have been doing this work for a long time, but God is going to give you a son. His name will be called John. And Zachariah looked at him and said, how will this thing be? He said, you two dey talk. This is your mouth. Be dumb for a season. A whole pastor that had been doing God's work for years became dumb. Look at Mary that didn't go to Bible school. She asked the very same question. So the angel's reply is tied to, I will make you dumb, but thou art highly favored. The pastor was not highly favored, so angel had control over him. But the young lady that didn't go to Bible school was highly favored. Angel had to tell him, if not be say, if not be say you God give you favor. They asked me question. The one that stands before the Almighty. If you read Luke chapter 2 and verse 52, another favor was manifested just like the likes of the man Samuel, and this time it was upon Jesus. Luke chapter 2 and verse 52. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with man. You see, this name I'm mentioning them, so you see that the fulfillment and the success story is tied to the mercy, the favor, and the grace of God. Nothing but those things. They were talented, but their talent did not bring them on this platform. They were eloquent, but eloquence did not bring them here. What brought them here was grace, favor, and mercy. Daniel chapter 1 verse 9. God brought Daniel into favor. God carried Daniel and dipped him inside the water of favor. Daniel became drenched with favor. Favor and tender love before the princes, before the eunuchs. This man was shown favor. Bros, you need favor. You need favor. You need this favor I'm talking about. You need it. It is like seasoning to soup. It will season your life. It will give your life taste. It will give your destiny value. Judges 6 and verse 17. Gideon said, if I had found favor in your sight, show me a sign. So that means when a man carries favor, signs and wonders follow the man. If I had found favor in your sight, show me a sign. Show me a sign. So signs and wonders are a product of favor. Signs and wonders. If you read Ruth chapter 2 and verse 10, the woman Ruth, a Moabite, a carnal person, if you want to explain it well, a carnal person, a worldly person, a person who should be rejected. He came before the Lord, came before Boaz, and said to Boaz, why have I found favor in your sight? Let me read it. So she fell on her face, bowed down to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? If you want to help people, it's your family you should help. Me, I'm not even part of your family. Why have you shown me favor? Why am I being accepted rather? Why am I being lifted? Why have you shown me favor despite me being a foreigner? That's a question you will ask when you see the multiple testimonies that heaven begins to give you. You'll be asking yourself, who am I? Who am I that thou art mindful of? Who am I, Lord? Who am I? Because the Lord has shown you what? Favor.